Welcome back, you guys. Today I am talking about books again and my reviews on them and what I've been thinking about these books that I have recently read. So if you want to see this, then stick around. All of these books that I'm going to share with you today, I listened to on either Hoopla or SCRIBD. Now, Hoopla is great. If you've never heard of Hoopla, you can sign up for free with your library card, and you can have, I think you can check out like 21 books a month on there, but I think you can only check out 21 things each month. So whether it's books or like, I don't think it's 21 of each. I think it's 21 things altogether, but they do have ebooks, they have audiobooks, and I'm pretty sure they have movies on there as well. SCRIBD is amazing. I heard about it from one of you guys who commented on my video. Thank you so much. I mean, SCRIBD is amazing, you guys. I can't even rant and rave enough about it. And I am not a monthly, I don't like to sign up for monthly subscriptions at all. And SCRIBD is $9.99 a month. It's unlimited ebooks, magazines, and audiobooks. And they have a huge, wide selection of audiobooks, which that's why I got it, is for the audiobooks. Because what I couldn't find on Hoopla, I most definitely almost found on SCRIBD. So between the two of them, I have a wide range of stuff that I can listen to. And if you would like to try it out for free for 60 days, I will leave the link in the description box for you so you can check that out. Okay, so before I start, I do want to share this with you guys. Look at how cute this reading journal is. If you have watched any of my videos recently, you will know that I just found, like a month or two ago, Chantel over at An Intentional Life. And Chantel at An Intentional Life. And I will link her channel below. But she created this cute little printable, and it is pretty cool because it's like a book tracker. You guys, I'm going to link her shop below. So if you want to get this, you can. And what I did is I just printed it out, I laminated the front, and then I took a piece of this scrapbook paper. Like, how cute is this together? This scrapbook paper makes me so happy. I don't know why. I love it so much. But, and it just looks so darling together, doesn't it? Oh my gosh, I love it. This is what I'm looking down at, if you see me looking down. I wrote down all my stuff, what I rated, things that I've read, and all of that. Okay, so what took me down this whole, like, fiction, like fantasy, and like all of these books I'm going to talk about, this all started because listen, okay, well, first of all, I'm pretty sure I read this book first, or I was reading this and then I started this book. I can't really remember, or I started to read this after, but I'm pretty sure I read this book first. And I shared this in my video where I talked about the non-fiction Christian books that I was reading, and this was the first one I shared. And I feel like this one kind of opened me up to listen to stuff for myself, because I didn't listen to or read any literature growing up, so I feel like I really missed out on a lot. While I was reading this book, I ended up checking out at the library the Divergent series, and I've watched it before, and it's just like one of my favorites. Okay, the movie, okay, I'd never read the books, none of that. I checked the movies out from the library, and if you know anything about the Divergent movies, like when they get to the third movie, I guess they were gonna do kind of like what they did with like Twilight and the Hunger Games, where they split. I think they did this with the Hunger Games. They split the last movie, or the last book, into two, but they never finished it. So I never got to see what really happens, or I didn't know what happens at the end. And I was just like, I need to know what happens. So I was like, I'm going to see if they have this on audio on Hoopla. And sure enough, they did. So I listened to that whole book, Allegiant, I think it's called. And it is, if you don't know anything about Divergent series, it's a sci-fi fantasy, and pretty much there was like a war that supposedly happened, and what they did is they grouped all the people into different sections. and in different categories. So there were like the farmers who, I can't remember what they're called, Amnigi or something like that. Then there were like the technology smart people. Then there are the ones, Candor, who are the ones that are like, they bring the law and justice, and they have to tell the truth. Like, they don't ever lie, and they're really blunt. And they have Dauntless, who are like the wild, crazy ones. And they have Abnegation, which are like very like humble. They don't even look at themselves in the mirror for too long. They wear like gray clothes, but they each have their own like distinct color also. And that's kind of how they have kept the world like peaceful, and by having all these factions. And pretty much you grow up in a faction, and then when you're a certain age, you get to choose which faction you want to be in. And they even have you like take a test and tell you like what you could be. So anyway, I don't really want to tell you it if you've never read it, then or watched the movies without spoiling it all, but it's really good. I love that movie. And after I read the third book, because I was like, I need to know what happens at the end, which I feel like it was very different than the movie, I gave that like a 5-star. Okay, I'm probably gonna have to go back and listen to the other 2 books in the series, because I didn't even listen to Divergent, or I can't remember the second one, but I just went right to number 3 because I was like, I need to know what happens at the end. And I had already watched all 3 movies, so that's why I jumped right into that. And then after I was done and what I really liked, and I feel like it made a really good listening experience, is it goes between Tris and 4. So one chapter Tris will speak, and then the next chapter you'll go and hear 4. They have a girl and a guy narrating the story, so I really liked that. I feel like, I don't even know, I just loved that. Okay, and then I ended up going on and listening to, it's called 4, and it's about 4 and like his life before meeting Tris, and even I think up until the end or something like that. So I can't remember if it talks about all the end, but it's pretty much his perspective. Like the whole book is like his perspective, and it talks about like his life before. So, and I liked that one too. I'd give that one like a 4 to 5 star. So that is kind of what like brought me into this whole, like, I'm gonna start listening and reading books, like fantasy and all of that, plus reading this book really helped me with that. After I had listened to those, I had found Chantel's channel, and I started like watching all of her like book haul videos and like her reading wrap-ups, and she was talking about books that she liked, and one of the books that she shared was The Strangers by Margaret Peterson Haddix, I think. And this is a middle grade sci-fi fantasy. And this book I rated a 4-star, and I liked it. It's got some, pretty much this book is about these kids who come home from school one day, and their mom is watching the news, and on the news there's 3 children that are missing that look exactly like them. So I don't really know, there's so much that goes on in that book that I don't even really know how else to explain it, but it was pretty good. It's very action-packed and pretty crazy. But I did like that one. And then after I listened to that, I like wanted to keep going. So, because it's a series, I started listening to the second one, and I got about halfway through that, and I would rate that like probably 4 stars too. I got about halfway through that, and then I just feel like my brain needed something different. I'm like, I just need something different. So I put a pause on that, and I still have to come back and finish it. But for right now, I haven't. I think I got like halfway through. The next book that I listened to was The Girl Behind the Red Rope by Ted Decker, and this is a Christian mystery, and it has, oh my gosh, this book is so good. It's very like, it's about this girl who is in a cult, and they live in like a commune thing, and there is a perimeter of a red rope, and they're not supposed to go beyond that, or these things called Furies will come and attack them. This book, oh my gosh, after coming out of some like cultish, legalistic stuff, I gave this book a 5-star. I thought it was so good. Especially because I feel like I could really relate to the character, because I feel like when you come out of stuff like that, like either like wrong beliefs, wrong Christian beliefs, or like cultish or legalistic thinking, you almost think, especially cult stuff, you almost think like you're crazy and like you're alone, maybe you're wrong. Like all of these thoughts literally go through your head. And I mean, I even went through this phase where I was literally like depressed, and I was like, I'm not even going to go to a church because I don't even know who's telling the truth. Like, are they even going to tell me the truth, or are they going to be lying too? Or is this a cult? Like, I was very like weary and about going to another church. And I even went through like a depression and like just crying out to God, and then just reading my Bible. And I mean, this book, I just feel like I could really relate to this character. So I loved it so much. It was so good. But after this, okay, I feel like this book talks a lot about how like cults are like fear-based. Because this cult in particular was very fear-based. But you know, the way I look at it, I can see how a lot of cults are based in fear. And this also talked about it talked a lot about, you know, perfect love casts out fear and all of this stuff, because this book was very based, like this cult was very based around fear. And after I read this book, I went and devoured the whole book of 1 John. And I just feel like that was amazing. So I feel like if you read this book, just go read the whole book of 1 John, because it is amazing. Especially if you're either coming like out of cult stuff or legalistic stuff or like anything fear-based. I feel like, you know, 1 John is so good. So that's that book. And then after I listened to that book, I went on to listen to The Line Between by Tosca Lee. I think that's how you say her name. And I rated this book a 5-star. This is a suspense book, and this also has cultish stuff and pandemic stuff and a little bit of romance in it as well, kind of, a little bit towards the end. But pretty much this one is also about a girl. It's about this girl and her mom and her sister who go inside and live in this cult community. She ends up getting kicked out of the cult, and her sister is still in there. Pretty much like there's this big pandemic happening right as she comes out of this cult, and then she also goes through this same thing where she's like, I also love this because I just feel like I could relate to her character, where she's like, is this even true? Like, am I gonna go to hell now because I'm leaving this? Is this place really a cult, or are they really speaking the truth? What's going on? Like, she's got all these mixed thoughts, mixed feelings. She has a lot of anxiety, and I think she even goes through like a depression through it. And it is just, I mean, I loved this book so much, and I could really relate to this character. And then it goes into like all the pandemic action filled stuff. And yeah, so that's like about all I can say. And then book 2, I listened to book 2 as well, and I rated that one a 5-star. And this one had a little bit more like of like romance in it, but like, listen, these, like I said, I don't like to watch or read anything like that. Like, I don't want to watch or read about people having sex. Like, I just don't want to, okay? That's not my thing. I don't like it. And this book, I just feel like the romance in it was like very subtle. I really enjoyed this book so much. And this one was more so the pandemic and less of the cult stuff. I feel like the first book focused more on the cult stuff, and the second book, even though it kind of talked a little bit about it, like it talked more about like the pandemic stuff. So then the next book I listened to, I heard about from Amanda over at the Curly Reader, and she was talking about like books that she read and liked or whatever. And one of the ones she liked was called The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary. This book is pretty much follows these two characters. This one also is in like, it goes between both the characters too. So I listened to it on audio. So there was a male and a female narrating it. And it goes, like I said, it goes between both of the people. And pretty much it follows Tiffy, who is the girl, and she just breaks up with her boyfriend and needs somewhere to stay because she was living with her boyfriend. She needs somewhere to stay. And then there's Leon, who works the night shifts, and he needs somebody to come and share the flat with him when he's not home so that he has more money. Like, he's renting out his flat, but it's only between like, it's for people who work like 9 to 5. So when he's sleeping, they're working, and then when he gets up and goes to work for the night shift, they have the flat at night. And pretty much Tiffy ends up living in the Flatshare, but they never meet because Leon has a girlfriend. Leon's girlfriend ends up meeting Tiffy, and then she sets everything up. So then what happens is Leon and Tiffy end up leaving notes for each other, and that's kind of how they communicate and get to know each other, is through the notes, even though they never met. And they don't even meet till like, I think like halfway through the book, or even more than halfway through the book. Anyway, that's all I'm gonna say. I loved the storyline. Like, I liked the whole like note thing. I thought that was kind of neat, but it had a lot of cursing in it. I don't really like books that curse in it. I just don't like that. It's not my cup of tea. And they swear a whole bunch in there. I just don't like that. I don't know. So that like really put me off. And then I feel like it was a little bit too much like romance for my liking. And then there was a couple other things I didn't like. So this was like a 2 to 3 star for me. I liked the storyline, but other than that, I don't know about all the other stuff. The next book that I listened to was called The Reckoning at Gossamer Pond, and this is by Jamie Jo Wright. And I also heard about this from Chantel, and I rated this a 4 star, maybe 4.5. I liked it. I did like it a lot. And it is a Christian historical romance, like suspense. It's a dual timeline. So it follows Libby Sheffield, and then like these revival meetings that happen where these two brothers, I can't remember if they're twins, but these two brothers hold like revival tent meetings. And then like people start dying, and before they start dying, Libby ends up getting these notes. Her dad runs like a newspaper, and she keeps getting these notes. They're not notes, they're obituaries before the person even dies. So they have to like figure out who's killing. So she's trying to figure out who is killing all of these people, right? And then writing the obituaries before they even die. And then in present time, it follows Annalise and then her ex-boyfriend, or were they married? I think they were boyfriend and girlfriend. And he ends up moving back to town in the house right next door to her. And I don't even know how to explain this book without telling the whole thing. So anyways, it follows both those characters, but then in the end, it comes together and you find out, like, it all just kind of meshes together at the end. So I really like this book. I feel like it really talks about repentance and grace and forgiveness, and I really liked that. If you've stuck around this long, I'm finally on the last book, and you're amazing hanging out this long, because I know it took forever, and I'm like long-winded. This book that I recently finished is called Grace and the Preacher, and this is a Christian romance, and I just needed something a little more lighthearted, and I don't know. I was just like, I need something different than all the suspense and stuff, even though I love all that stuff. But I was just like, I need something else. So I listened to this, And I gave this a 4 stars. I really liked it. I feel like this one also talked a lot about grace and forgiveness in this book. And pretty much it follows a couple different characters. So there's Grace, who lives with her uncle, who is the pastor, and he is stepping down. And there is a reverend who is coming to take over the church, and which the uncle has picked out who it is. And he kind of picks him out because he's a single man. And his niece, who is Grace, is single too. So he was kind of thinking along those areas, like maybe they would like mesh up or whatever. So Dilly is the reverend that's coming to take over the church, and him and Grace have been like writing letters back and forth to each other, getting to know each other, and she's answering questions, and they've kind of like almost fallen in love like a little through these through these letters back and forth to each other. And then you also follow Theophil, who is also known as Theo for short, and then his cousins. Well, he was raised by his grandma, who was like an amazing woman of God, and she ends up passing away, and he has to go stay with his like the only known family, and I think it's like his aunt and uncle and his cousins, and they're all like very mean to him and let him know like they don't even want him there. So he went from like living with this loving grandma to like this family who is just so mean to him. And his cousins were going to like rob something, and they were trying to get him involved with it, and then he doesn't come through because he doesn't want to do that because his grandma raised him better than that. And they end up going into prison for like 10 years. They get sentenced. So Theo ends up, the 10 years is up, and Theo's like, I'm leaving because I know that once they get out, they're gonna want to like beat me up. So he leaves, and then he ends up helping Reverend Dilly out, and it just goes from there. It's really good. I just feel like this storyline is really a lot about grace and forgiveness, and you know, just how good God is. So I really liked this book a whole lot. I gave it a 4 stars, maybe even 4.5, because I really liked it. So those are all the books that I have recently listened to. If you have read or listened to any of these books, let me know in the comments below, and let me know if you liked them. If you guys like these types of videos, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys in my next video. All right, guys, have a blessed day.